Heads up, friends. The Unofficial Shopify Podcast is made by indie entrepreneurs for indie entrepreneurs and may contain material not suitable for all audiences, like swearing or economics. Listener discretion is advised. As e-com evolves, revenue is becoming less meaningful than another metric: your profit. It's not just about revenue when rising ad costs and tight margins are at play. Enter Store Hero, your new ally in turning profit-centric visions into reality. By bringing together your sales, marketing, and operational costs, Store Hero provides a crystal clear view of your real profitability, down to each order's contribution margin. Now, deciding on advertising budgets with confidence is within reach, thanks to a platform that prioritizes profit over revenue. Eager to embrace a profit-first e-com journey? Visit storehero.ai to schedule a demo and unveil a platform built for the forward-thinking profit-first brand. And here's a special bonus for you. Mention the Unofficial Shopify Podcast during that demo. Get a free profitability audit for 2024. That's storehero.ai. On this episode, we are going to talk to a Dragon's Den alum, a former Shopifyer, and the CEO of one of Ottawa's fastest growing companies. Yes, we have with us the CEO of Bushbalm Skincare, David Gaylord, and he is going to walk us through how they went from an idea at a Shopify offsite to one of these incredible fast-growing companies, and how not just going direct to consumer, but also omni-channel, retail, wholesale, how all of that came together to achieve their success. Let's see what we can unpack and learn here in this episode. I'm your host, Kurt Elster.
Check nasty.
And this is the Unofficial Shopify Podcast. David, welcome.
I forgot about those. I love the sound effects. That's incredible.
I've been going easy on the sound effects lately. I think at some point I hit peak sound effect. I was really abusing it.
Yeah, happy to be here. Super, super excited. Been a long time listener, so excited to actually be on the show.
Well, I'm happy to have you. But let's start with Bushbalm. What is Bushbalm?
Yeah, so Bushbalm started as just an idea that we weren't sure on the use case. Bush, as you can imagine, down there, care, and then balm.
Oh, we're not talking about gardening.
No. Not talking about gardening. We actually call it bikini line skincare.
Okay.
But when we started, we were going to launch a balm, hence the name Bushbalm. And then we turned out it was actually quite difficult, and we didn't have the resources to launch a balm. So we went with an oil product and then a sugar-based scrub. But at the heart of Bushbalm, ingrown hair is razor burn. It's horrible, sucks, nobody likes it. And that's all we do. And our focus really is on the bikini line. So we're more geared towards the female market. We actually don't do anything on the male side. And yeah, right now we're D2C. We're sold in about 3,000 waxing salons. And then we're also in about 1,000 Ulta beauty doors this March, which has been a big change.
I was going to say that is quite the success to get into a big retail chain, and then thousands of them. But before we get to that, the thing I assume that came first was the idea. When did this start?
Yeah, so it was 2016. Tim and Mel, the founding couple, they were on their honeymoon, and Mel used Tim's beard oil to freshen up down there. And kind of a weird conversation led to one thing. And then at a Shopify offsite, Tim, I worked with him at Shopify for many years. He said the idea there's about 60 of us at an offsite, and everybody laughed, thought it was like this terrible idea. This was 2016, kind of ahead of its time. And then I have eczema, so I've been using oils, skincare for eczema, which is also no fun. And I love the idea. I thought it was great. In my role at Shopify, I was kind of corporate, and I didn't get to do marketing, which is what I went to university for. So I ended up doing a lot of the marketing, like the web, the Shopify. Tim did all the operations. And then Mel is a very gifted graphic designer. So the three of us kind of got to work.
they had this idea. You loved the idea. You had a marketing background. How quickly from idea to this is a thing you could buy do we go?
It probably took us about 4 months to launch. And we actually only launched with about $3,000. So we didn't throw a lot into it. We all had full-time jobs. Mel had her own business as well at the time. So yeah, we didn't have much time. We didn't have much money. We were still like fairly junior Shopify employees. And this was before kind of all the chaos. And we launched and we had a few hundred products. And then the first year, we probably sold like $2,000 worth of like that's it. And it didn't take us, it took us until about 2020 to actually start to find our product market fit, our niche, our packaging, all of that. So a good 4 years to really get going.
In that 4 years, what do you think is the impactful changes that happened where this thing went from, okay, it makes sales, but less than what it costs us to a business so successful you wanted to quit your job to pursue it?
Yeah, so it was a few things. One was we went to a Etsy show. So the platform, I don't even know if we had an Etsy account. I don't know how they accepted us, but we had a booth, that's like a trade show booth there. And customers came in and we tried to sell our product. And every single day we actually changed the sign. So we used different language. So the first day was like bush oil. The second day was like pubic hair oil. And then the final day was like ingrown hair prevention. And right away, people were like, oh yeah, that's actually super useful. Like I have that issue. The first day, people were like spitting their drinks out. They're like, oh, that's disgusting. Why would I? So that wording really changed. And then we did a really professional photo shoot, which helped the brand in so many ways. And then the last thing we did was we found an ad creative that told the story really, really well. And that right there just kind of got us to a new level where essentially people just understood what we were selling, whereas before it was hard to even imagine what it was.
So you, through testing in person at an event, one-on-one, which that in-person event stuff really quite beneficial early in a product development path is what we've learned on this show. And so you've got the tagline figured out when the moment you start agitating the pain, you lead with, well, this is the pain or problem we're solving, which ingrown hairs, universally bad. Nobody wants this. And you picked you then combined it with an area, bikini line, where people really had not been addressing it in this way previously. And so you've got a specific pain or problem, a solution for it, and then we're adding a niche to it, a niche. How did your Shopify experience come into play here? Like, obviously, I assume this is on Shopify.
Yeah, for sure. So people actually do ask me that a lot, and I learned a lot of stuff at Shopify. But as far as like the folks at Shopify that I worked with, and most people there are excellent. And they're amazing. But I think the thing people don't realize is like Shopify is a tech company. So like the fact they think people are like, oh, if you worked at Shopify, you'll know how to run an e-commerce business, which is like so far from the truth. So the things that Shopify really helped is like, as we scaled, I just like knew how to build spreadsheets and models and understand like finances. And you had a lot of those like business operations things. But on the marketing side, yeah, there actually wasn't like many folks who understood how merchants really ran, how they operated that way. As far as like product development, like the things that Shopify would do is very expensive and difficult and fancy. And whereas like our business is so different than that. We're trying to make costs like efficient, affordable. So yeah, the things that really did help, like now I look back as our team, we're about 30 people. That helps a lot. As we have this bigger team, I've seen what like bigger teams at Shopify look like, how they do the annual budgeting process, all of that. That's been incredibly beneficial. But yeah, in the early days, the ways that it helped is like, they just encouraged it. And Shopify was like, yeah, start your business, learn how to use the platform, which is amazing. But yeah, some of the hard marketing, growth, scale, like we didn't quite have the support that I thought I would just naturally learn while being at that kind of mothership.
So you learned a lot of soft skills But then at the same time, there were some that kind of surprised you. And it sounds like it was some of the marketing stuff, maybe even like down to positioning.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like seeing some of that. And then the other piece too is like, I didn't realize, I didn't know what total addressable market was until I worked at Shopify. And then you hear it all the time, like our TAM for this new channel expansion or that. And then within Bushbalm, you bring those things and you say, okay, are we actually a super niche company or do we have like a potentially big enough TAM? You're like, oh yeah, well, here's what the numbers are. You do the research. So yeah, those, I'd say like just business skills in general. Shopify actually did an awesome job of like helping people understand how businesses function. And then, yeah, obviously like the high standards of Shopify also is very good to know.
Despite those skills and what I assume was a good experience, at some point you quit.
Yeah.
Right? When is that? What's the moment?
We got to actually I think we were about 2 million in revenue and we still hadn't hired an employee. So it was just all of us part-time doing this on the side of our desks. At one point I was doing fulfillment and then we got a 3PL. So life got a little easier. And then we kept growing. And I believe that was middle of 2021 is when we had our first employee. And then Tim quit first and then I quit shortly after that. And that was actually a really hard decision because at the time I had my best job ever at Shopify and I was doing things that I didn't think I would have been doing 2-3 years ago. But yeah, Bushbalm at that point, when I went full-time, was about 5 people. So doing it from the side of my desk as the CEO was not the right play at the time, probably. But bootstrapping and being lean like that, it actually helps you to build tons of systems, like be really careful with your time. So I do appreciate that. But looking back, yeah, maybe I should have quit a year or two earlier.
Hindsight's 2020 and you have success bias. Like from where you are now, it works out if you quit. When you were on the other side of that decision, it seems like a much riskier proposition and quite the gamble. At the same time, if I had a product business that I'm doing part-time, is it already doing multiple millions? I'd probably be like, all right, what happens if we go full-time with this?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Looking back, you're like, oh, we should have done that. But at the same time, looking back at those years, I didn't even know how big this company could be. And every year I realized like, oh, how much bigger the company could be. And then we bring on more people, we scale. Like it's been quite amazing. But yeah, at the same time, like the last 5 years has been hard. Everything about this journey is hard. There's ups and downs all the way. It's just, yeah, now seeing it, we've had a good year. So I'm at the end of the year, I'm like, oh, now I'm all happy about where we're at. But yeah, definitely ups and downs.
Your ego and your livelihood are wrapped up in it in a way where it's hard not to take wins and losses personally.
For sure.
Which could be dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think that's the toughest part of being a founder is, yeah, you're tied up in your livelihood. Sometimes it's not just you, it's like the team, right? So if you hire someone, you want them to grow, be successful, and then you have 20, 30 people, like you want them all to be successful. And it does get challenging. You take you take a lot personally to make sure it is a success. Whereas when I was kind of doing my corporate gig, if this whole thing fails, I've still got my corporate gig. So you feel less pressure. Whereas now I feel all kinds of pressure every single day, which is, I think, healthy.
As long as it doesn't overwhelm you or eat you alive, that stress becomes positive. It becomes motivating. It's stress.
Exactly.
The one that really blows my mind, you were on Dragon's Den in the summer of 2020, and you would have still been working at Shopify.
Yeah. So we were both actually working at Shopify at that time. So we both had quarter jobs. We actually didn't have a single employee when that was filmed. So yeah, on the show, we said we were on track to do 1.8 million in revenue. And what was crazy about it is 1.8 million is still a small business, but we pitched in February, right before COVID, and we said we're on pace to do $600,000. And between February and July when we filmed, our value, like our yearly revenue changed by I guess 1.2 million in that span. And I don't know how we did it, but somehow we managed to keep up with inventory, all that. We barely sold out during COVID. And then the following year we went from, I think we were 1.8 million and we went to 8.3. And that year was staying in stock was like physically impossible. And that was like the heart of COVID when that was the glory days of DTC, I would say, and ad spending.
What that Dragon's Den? Did you get the deal? Did they give you the money?
We got a deal, yeah, but I think it's a little different with Shark Tank. I don't know what percentage of like how many deals on Shark Tank go through. Yeah, we actually had one of the best episodes like I've seen. Like everything was smooth. There was like almost no negativity, almost no pushback, and we got a deal for exactly what we asked for. So like you almost never see that, right? But yeah, after the show, the deal actually never went through. We're quite close with the Arlene and her team that we got the deal with. Just they tend to do bigger investments. So on the show, they probably only do a couple of those, whereas we're actually bigger now where we're talking with their team and we actually fit their like investment thesis much more now. Whereas before, yeah, we were way too small to even work out, I would say.
Crowdfunding campaigns are great. You can add social proof and urgency to your product pre-orders while reducing risk of failure. But with traditional crowdfunding platforms, you're paying high fees and giving away control, all while your campaign is lost in a sea of similar offers. It can be frustrating. That's why we built Crowdfunder, the Shopify app that turns your Shopify product pages into your own independent crowdfunding campaigns. We originally created Crowdfunder for our private clients, and it was so successful, we turned it into an app that anyone can use. Today, merchants using Crowdfunder have raised millions collectively. With Crowdfunder, you'll enjoy real-time tracking, full campaign control, and direct customer engagement. And it's part of the Built for Shopify program, so you know it's easy to use. So say goodbye to high fees and hello to successful store-based crowdfunding. Start your free trial and transform your Shopify store into a pre-order powerhouse today. Search Crowdfunder in the Shopify App Store to get started. So that's the thing that's not obvious from watching Shark Tank or Dragon's Den. Just because they made the offer on the show doesn't mean it actually gets followed through on after the fact. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you still got the public win and the publicity. But it sounds like it didn't get funded, but now you're back talking to them again.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the piece people don't realize about Dragon's Den or Shark Tank is we actually went into that show and left that show being the tightest with our financials we've ever. Well, now we're really tight from it, but you like lock everything up. You understand your data better than ever. So it actually is a great like lesson for learning in the business because without doing that, we might have had like sloppy financials. Whereas right away, we sent them due diligence, like they understood what was going on. Like it was very useful on the business side. But yeah, I can only imagine 10, 15, 20% of deals go through. Can't be much more than that.
And I saw you have done a very clever thing. If I Google Dragon's Den Bushbalm, I don't necessarily get the TV show page about it. I get the landing page on your website. Yeah,
I'm a big SEO fan. Anything we can kind of work out on the SEO side. Lots to learn there, but any of those little subtle links will likely get you, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks a day, which adds up over a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And this page looks good. And we've had other merchants, other clients on Shark Tank do the same thing after they saw, every time the show re-airs, we get this huge traffic spike. How do we capture more of that? And the answer, of course, is make a landing page, direct match keywords, sharing your experience directly.
Yeah.
And, often it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Google's going to put you in the top few results because it's talking about you specifically.
Yeah, I'll have to look at how many clicks we actually get, but we do get the odd spike. And every time I'm like, why is Canada having sales right now? And it's it re-airs usually 2-3 times a year.
And so I'm looking at the Bushbalm site. It looks really good. How many products do we have on this store? How many SKUs?
Yeah, I think we're like, I don't know, probably like 16 SKUs, maybe 8 are core, and then 16 are just like other products. And then you probably add on top of that another 10 bundles. So give or take, like we probably have about 30 SKUs that we promote in various ways. We do a lot of bundling. Actually, every week, typically, our number one SKU is not an individual item, but it's a bundle, which has been like unreal. For our AOV has gone up like 3x in the last 4 years just by like focusing on what bundles to promote and how. So yeah, we focus mostly on bundles, and then we separate based on like concern is a big part of our business. And then we also sell our trimmer, which is it's a totally different audience. So trying to merchandise all the different audiences on the site is probably one of our biggest challenges. But so far it's worked quite well, but we're still kind of learning there for sure.
I think there was a ton of value in what you just said. You said, hey, we lean a lot on bundles. We're trying to increase average order value, and we have different audiences. So we're tweaking our offers, our landing pages, et cetera, for them, which brings me to my next point. You said you've got there's a few dozen SKUs on this site, but you actually have over 2,000 pages indexed in Google. And so there's, let's say even if you had 100 SKUs, all right, well, the other 2,000 pages, where did those come from? Are they landing pages, SEO efforts?
That's a lot of pages.
Is this a surprise to you?
Yeah, that's quite a few. We do have quite a large number of blog posts, which do quite well for us for SEO. Like we've got a few blogs now that get over 150 clicks per day. So those just drive a lot of organic traffic, which is amazing. And then we do have tons of collection pages that we have throughout our navigation. But yeah, that's a lot of pages. My guess is it's probably also landing pages, which it was funny. Since I worked at Shopify, we got free Shopify sites. That was part of it. You could just build a site. So instead of buying a landing page software back in the day, I just would have different sites and I would just link them back to our site, and they would be the trimmer page, this page, and I had 6 variations of each. So under my account in Shopify, it was 50 different sites probably. And then our data was all screwed up, and our conversion rate on our original site looked like 6-7%. So now we brought that all obviously into the one theme. But yeah, we've been using landing pages the last 6-7 years for all of our ads. Ever since the beginning, we've been doing that. And yeah, now you won't see a Bushbalm ad that doesn't go to a landing page for sure.
Is that one of the easiest low-hanging fruit for people who are just sending ads direct to a page, as opposed to dedicated landing page that kind of echoes the offer?
Yeah, I'd say for sure. And for us, we do it on certain things. We do a lot of limited edition scents that we launch. And so for those, we optimize a page where you actually sign up to get on the email list for it. And then once it launches, we have a custom page for all of that. So I think just everywhere in the funnel, if you could make it so someone clicks a landing page, they get 20% off, and then they click a collection page off that landing page, you kind of want to have the 20% come over with them as well. So just looking at the funnel and where people end up, I think is quite important. So yeah, we have a lot of pages that are, I would say, first tier landing pages and then second level landing pages as well.
It shows that hyper segmentation to keep everything as relevant as possible. It's a lot of work up front for you. There's a lot of pages here relative to the number of products, but it has paid off in that this business is very successful and growing quickly. And so relative to the amount of revenue generated, it no longer seems like a ton of effort now, does it?
No, not at all. Yeah, we actually hired, I was the website person for quite a long time. And it was actually last year I hired a merchandiser full time. And that role and hire it's just freed me up to do so much more in the business, and also someone focused on it full time. There's so many more tests we can run. We actually just did a end of year review. And so far this year, I think we've already ran, it was something like 300. It was almost a test a day for A/B tests on the website, which I thought was kind of crazy. Maybe that's not that high, but for our team, a year ago, we probably did 10. So it's kind of been crazy growth on our end.
No, a test a day is extremely aggressive and impressive.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, the merchandising side, because a year ago we weren't sophisticated at all, and that impact, especially with the iOS changes, being able to actually convert at a rate that we could stay profitable has been really hard. I'm sure everyone's kind of going through the same thing. So yeah, that role in general has been pretty big for us.
You would have seen what happened to a lot of people, which was, e-commerce is creeping up. Then, if you're in the right, right place at the right time, it explodes for you during the pandemic. And then Apple decides to ruin everybody's fun with the iOS changes that made ads really expensive and difficult to run for a period of like a good 18 to 24 months. So how did that impact you? It sounds like you saw this and then the just absolute segmentation, landing pages, et cetera, is how you got your way out of it.
No, not at all. Actually, we were doing that before. So we were like segmenting audiences. Like the thing with us is we were humming. Like COVID, we were spending. Facebook ads were converting extremely high. Like everything was really working. And like the cycle of it's really, really working. Maybe you hire too many people. We didn't quite get there. So we just scaled with our team that we had, and luckily that worked out. And then last year, it was probably our toughest time in Q4. We had some email deliverability issues, and ads just weren't converting. And what we realized is like our business is quite seasonal now. So we know like the summer months are going to be much better for us. But how we actually got out of it into being, I'd say our business right now is the strongest it's ever been. Probably because we have Canada as a D2C business, US as a separate D2C business, like totally different ad structures, accounts. We also have this wholesale business. So we're in about 3,000 waxing salons. And we don't run that like your traditional wholesale business where it's like a sales rep calling up, converting people over the phone, and you have 20 account managers. We actually have one account manager and one salesperson. So the majority of that program is run like a D2C company. So people come in, they create their own account, they start to buy. And then the last one was retail. So this year we've added Ulta and then a few other retailers. So that revenue has been huge. But on the same end, D2C is still like hard. The only difference now is we know when we could spend a lot and we know when we should pull back spend to be more profitable, which for us, it's like October, November, December, we actually pull back spend quite a bit because it's seasonality wise, not our time to shine. And then that wholesale waxing salon business, it's really hard to figure out wholesale for a D2C business. And if you can actually build it out in a way that is scalable, like the D2C model, it's incredibly powerful. So that business, like the 3,000 accounts, our retention on that over like 1 year, I believe is 75%. So like repeat rate and frequency of purchase is so fast just because when their shelves are empty, they know to rebuy instead of requiring like an email or an ad or whatnot like D2C.
So you start as pure D2C and then you're adding a wholesale business in the form of retailers and of various sizes, independent salons plus Ulta.
Yeah.
And well, let's say you had to pick just one. Do you go straight D2C or straight wholesale?
I think it's impossible to do. Well, you could figure out how to do just one. The thing we get is ideally the cycle. So D2C, we spend a ton of money on ads, we push people. And what happens through that is we get a ton of people to the wholesale accounts because they see Bushbalm or someone comes in for a wax and tells them about Bushbalm. And then the other side of it is like the more we spend on D2C, the more our Amazon and Ulta business grows. So they all kind of cycle. The biggest challenge is how do you make sure everyone's happy? Because like Ulta wants to run a deal or the waxing salons get like an offer at a certain time, you launch a new product. So you have to do what's right for each different channel, I suppose, just so everyone's appreciated, understands what you're doing. But yeah, that's the hardest part. But yeah, our waxing salon business is it's incredible. First off, you're supporting like small businesses or like solo estheticians, which is super rewarding. And you kind of see it. And then it's also just a channel where our product market fit it couldn't be better. Like everyone loves it. Our ratings on it are amazing. Like repeat rate obviously is amazing. So that channel is probably my favorite. It's also, we're in startup phase with it, right? Like we went from, I think we were 0 accounts. And then last year we got to 1,000. And then this year we'll get to about 3,000. So it's still in that early startup phase, even though like revenue from it now is creeping up to be one of our bigger channels.
And you said there's 3,000 waxing salons. How do you, and they're all independent, how do you maintain relationships at that scale? Is it like just variation on retail where it's a newsletter? How do we do this?
Yeah, that's the part. Every time I talk to someone, they're like, that doesn't make sense. There's no way. Or they think we have a huge sales team. But how we've done it is really through like automation flows. And then we do insert some level of relationship in there. But typically it's a webinar, which is kind of one-to-many, or you introduce a new product at a certain time. And we have a lot of engagement on social. So sometimes people actually don't need that one-to-one communication. So we do a lot of one-to-many in the channel. And then some of our top tier accounts, obviously they get more special attention. But the thing that we've realized is for us, we do a lot of product launches and those limited edition scent launches. So with retailers, the more new and exciting things you're doing, the more purchase orders that they want to do because they think, oh, I should have that on my shelves. I should bring that to my customers. So by launching more product, we actually get away from the need to have 15, 20 account managers, and we could have a lighter weight process. And then also like the systems, like Shopify and your CRM, your automations and email, like that needs to be really, really strong. And most people click on the Shopify wholesale channel, and like, no offense to it, I'm sure it's gotten better over the last 5 years, but we have like a full separate site with like custom theme, everything's built differently, like how you purchase, how you view pricing, like it's totally different.
So you run an expansion store just for the wholesalers?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we run like landing page tests over there. We run like funnels to different guides, like webinars. Like there's a lot of different marketing tactics. Kind of, I would say more so old school tactics.
Black Friday got you freaking? Get your store ready for the holiday rush with Zipify One-Click Upsell. With Zipify One-Click Upsell, you can capture 10 to 15% more revenue all season long by offering upsells and cross-sells with every purchase. In just a few clicks, you can add highly profitable upsell funnels to your entire store, including on your product pages, shopping cart, order confirmation pages, and now, for the first time ever, even on the Shop app, with sky-high conversion rates of 16% and an average order value increase of $18 per upsell. One-Click Upsell has generated over $500 million for Shopify stores like yours. Install it and launch your first upsell in just a few minutes to start generating 10 to 15% more revenue today. To get your Shopify store ready for Black Friday, go to zipify.com/Kurt and start your 30-day free trial. That's zipify.com/KURT. And to get an unadvertised gift, email help@zipify.com and ask for the holiday bonus. It sounds like you're putting a lot more effort into it, in building those relationships and getting those wholesalers than we've seen other retailers do. But you're doing it in a smart way. Where we have seen people in the past where it's a lot of just individual managers who have to reach out. It's like, all right, well, you get, there's 3 and we've broken it up by geographic district, and it's just going by quantity over quality. How many people can you reach out to?
Yeah. In the early days too, if you asked me like, oh, you guys do wholesale to estheticians, it was probably like somebody emailed me and then I'd do a draft order and then I'd send it to them, and then it was super manual and frustrating. I think at one point I just like broke and was like, I'm going to rebuild this from scratch. We kind of pulled it all together. And the last thing about the channel is, since it's professional estheticians, right? So this like professional backing for our business is actually massive. And the fact that we fit so well with estheticians and professionals, it means that our relationship with Ulta, they want to have like professionally backed brands. So that actually is like a nice little flywheel for the two of them. The more estheticians we have, the more professionals, the happier Ulta is with our positioning in the market. So this whole cycle is pretty important. And then D2C, like it converts better because people trust it, right?
Yeah, all these things seem to feed each other. Like a flywheel is occurring between these 3 channels: small indie wholesale, the large retail wholesale, and direct to consumer.
Yeah, totally. And then the only one that's kind of a outsider is like Amazon, right? And like we don't really promote Amazon much, but obviously it's there. It does fairly well. We tend to focus more on the D2C as well as like wholesale professional and then wholesale retail.
Have you tried TikTok Shop yet?
No, we're Canadian, so we're not allowed, sadly.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's what we've been asking. But yeah, mostly we just do like TikTok ads, and they seem to work fairly well for us.
Yeah, the early, part of it's the excitement of it having launched not that long ago, but we're seeing a lot of people make orders and sales with TikTok Shop. But then the struggle is the integration could be a little rough,
right?
And just maintaining it. But as far as like, is it an effective channel? Does it get sales? At the moment, yeah.
Right.
It does seem to work with, and of course, with the right offer.
Right. Yeah, we're kind of lucky, either lucky or not lucky as a Canadian business. We tend to get everything second. But it usually means they like work out the kinks and then they find out what works. The only problem is sometimes you miss that like glory in the first year of something where the results are way better than the years after. But it kind of slows the business down over here because we can't do it probably till next year.
So having been at Shopify, having run the site for years, having built now realistically multiple stores, right? Because we have expansion stores for different markets and customers and all these landing pages. What are your thoughts? What's your philosophy on web design? How perfect do we got to get?
Yeah. So we went through a big process to redesign the site a few years back. So we're probably going to get there with our next site. So the wholesale site, we're going to do another redesign there. But yeah, my motto has always been like clarity in like photography and text. The piece for me that I'm struggling with between is things can obviously look amazing and not convert. So it's really, you need to find the right agency that looks at the data with you and understands like, okay, what actually converts and what are we going to test to get there? So there's a fine line between like a huge new website rebuild versus like incremental components. The tough part of the incremental is it's hard to make it look good, right? Because it's always just like slight changes. And then the redesign, there's risk, like huge risk there. And like, will it convert worse than what you already have? So it's a balance of like kind of where you want, what you see. And like our redesign that we did that made the site look a lot better and branded better, it actually converted like the same. So like nothing changed. AOV did start to go up, which was helpful. But the fact that we did that redesign, it actually led to just a better viewing of our brand. And that's probably one of the reasons we got with Ulta Beauty, because they went to our site, they saw, wow, this is like professional, this is beautiful, super well done. So like there's obviously different things to measure against. But yeah, now that we're a bit bigger, I'm like, we're testing everything, trying to find out the right language, verbiage, pictures, versus in the early days, it was like free theme. I did it myself. Our free theme probably got us to like 8 million in sales. So not anything crazy. There was no frills, no like upsells, nothing like that. But then again, I spoke with someone at Manscaped, and they have a team, or they used to have a team of about 12 people that just did subscriptions. You can obviously, with the right developer team, you can do all these things that add tons of revenue and value. But as a small business, we're kind of fighting through the incremental changes as we go. Versus maybe this year, actually, we're going to invest, especially in the wholesale business, like a real wholesale website with lots of testing before we launch, and doing a huge change there.
And when you say lots of testing before you launch, what tools are we using? What's our approach here?
Yeah, we just switched to, I forget what the company's called, like an A/B testing software, but we got it just for the wholesale site. So we switched to that. So we're going to be running a bunch of A/B tests on just different heroes and homepages. We've been using Replo to build quite a few components to test before we kind of bring them into the full feed. So yeah, we've been doing that. And then the other thing is we actually just hired like a freelancer to help us on CRO to run more tests with us. And we have a great merchandiser, but more junior. So having someone come in and act as like a CRO coach. But what makes it tough internally is like we don't have a developer on staff. So it's, I think that's a challenge just across the board for probably everyone.
Right. Yeah. Hey, here's a test we want to run. So here's what we need to build. Oh, wait.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been, so Replo has actually been quite helpful to test like all kinds of things before we actually get it built out.
Let's switch gears. I want to pick your brain on some advice for Shopify entrepreneurs and merchants listening. If someone has an existing brand, it's successful, they're in that position where they're like, hey, we're selling $2,000-$3,000 a month. And obviously at that point, they're like, there's something here. I want to expand it. I want to grow. How do they do that?
It's changed a lot since we started, obviously. Back in the day, it was like, throw some money into Facebook and see how people react. And you should be able to grow that way. Whereas the biggest thing I would say now is build like a great product, obviously. Like everyone would say that. And then the other piece is whatever you can do is build community somehow. So what does that look like for your brand? Like, are there people that can be big ambassadors for what you're doing? For us right now, like the estheticians are our best ambassadors. Talk about us all the time. They're always pitching us to their clients. So if you could find anything organic, it's pretty big right now. And I would say the last thing is probably expect to grow slower than people will tell you. Like if you talk to me, here's how fast we grew, here's how quick. But just with the market, unless you can truly figure out how to scale ads, it's not like it used to be. So just grow slower and it's totally fine. Like it's not a big deal. You look at a lot of brands, like they started in 1990 and they're still like doing well now. So yeah, it all kind of compounds, I would say, over the years.
For sure. I mean, it's that old metaphor of you're building a house brick by brick.
Right.
And when you're standing up close to it, it doesn't seem like much. But after a while, you look and go, oh, there's a house here. One piece of advice you wish you had when you were starting Bushbalm, which you may have just given it.
Yeah, no, I would say the big thing for me, if I was starting out, I wish I had more insight into like what's impactful. And early on, you tend to just crush work because you're like, oh, I'm going to make this thing a big success. Like, here's what I'm going to do, versus like building out your 1 year plan for it. So it's almost like slow down to go faster. Because generally speaking, like first year, I just tinkered with the theme. And like I had zero traffic to the theme. So like, why did I tinker it? No one saw the theme I was working on. So I really should have been focused on, hey, get more traffic. So things like that, where if someone just said, hey, what are you focusing on? And you'd be like, oh, this, and this. And they'd say, oh, have you thought about this? Those types of just conversations I didn't have. And then I think the other one would be the more you could talk to people about your idea, the better. So no one's generally going to steal your idea. And if they do, I'm sorry, I just told you this. But talk to people, ask, hey, have you thought of this? Or what do you think of this? Have you seen can I show you our website? Can you give me feedback? Like just getting opinions. For us, it changed at that Etsy show, right? Like we could have went with what we thought worked. And what we thought worked actually was very far from what the customers actually wanted.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like that was really kind of a pivotal moment early on. What do you think are one or two key factors for success?
Yeah, it's tough right now. I think channel, like understanding what channels are going to work for you and what channels are going to scale are pretty huge right now. And in the world of beauty, and I'm sure other industries, there's a lot of scrutiny on, say you're like direct to consumer only. There's a lot of scrutiny on, okay, how sustainable is this? So if you're running just paid ads and that's all your traffic, you probably should diversify and make sure you have traffic from other sources. For us, getting into retail was actually a much better play because if you think about the scalability, like where do women buy razors? It's typically like the pharmacy, right? And how many pharmacies are in the US? Like hundreds of thousands. How many waxing salons are in the US? There's like 300,000. So it's like an absurd market. Whereas D2C, we're fighting with everyone else. So understanding your channel options as well as your, I guess, consolidation of spend and where it's going, I think is pretty big this time of, like if you're launching right now. And then the last one would be do all the basic things that seem very obvious, like set up your email welcome flow, set up your email abandoned cart, make sure you have like an about us, a contact us page, like all those basic things, like check those off first. Because most people I find forget about that stuff. And then you wonder why your ads aren't converting. And it's probably because you're not collecting emails and you're not nurturing people through the funnel, that kind of thing.
It's good advice. I couldn't agree more.
And don't, you guys say it all the time, don't look at your website on desktop once. Like just don't do it. Like that's a big thing. Our merchandisers, like, don't even look at it on your desktop because it's less than 10% of traffic. Like, it's not even worth it. Like, only look at mobile.
Yeah, that desktop site exists for the owners.
Yeah.
For other web professionals.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
The mobile site's what everyone else actually uses.
Yeah, exactly. That advice is the silliest one, but you'll catch yourself every day looking at the desktop and you shouldn't even bother.
Yeah, no, it needs to be said. It's December 2023. Looking forward, any predictions, trends? What do you think? Anything shaping the future of e-commerce we should be aware of?
Yeah, I think the next couple of years are going to be kind of like hold on and hold your breath. And a lot of people right now say, like, especially in our industry, like scaling D2C, investors years ago would say, oh yeah, like, why are you bothering with retail? It doesn't make any sense. Like, scale D2C. Whereas now it's completely flipped. Like, in the 3-year span, it's gone from now like, we actually disregard most of your D2C revenue. And you're like, what? How do you? So most people now are like retail. But how I see it is it's like build the strong foundations and like scale appropriately, whatever that means for you, whether it's like profitable, not profitable, depending if you're like venture backed, all that. Scale appropriately. And I think there's going to be a moment in time where D2C becomes extremely desirable again because there's levers that we could pull again. So it's going to come back. Ads are going to come back in some way. It might even be a new channel, a new place to get eyeballs, whatever that is. And then, yeah, I do think the other side of it too is there's going to be a lot of different channel options that might come, in my opinion. So we're focused on waxing salons, but there's a lot of these other channels that aren't in like the digital world yet, where like the ability to service them is very old school. And there's going to be a lot of disruption in just how do you service certain markets, because there's a lot of distributors for different types of markets, which I think some disruption will probably come there.
I think you're right. Well, we'll see. 'Cause now that we have committed this to the internet, you can always go back and prove how wrong we may or may not have been.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
I'd prefer not to. What's next for you and Bushbalm?
Yeah. So this year was our best year ever, I would say. So next year, right at the start of the year, we're growing the team. I think we have 4 jobs opening, which is amazing. So yeah, our goal for the next few years is like I said, there's about 300,000 waxing salons in the US. So we want to get to 10, 15,000 in a couple of years, which is huge endeavor to do, but we're kind of working on that. And then we're with Ulta Beauty and there's so much more growth for us there. So we're doubling down on that one retailer to push sales and people to grow. And then, yeah, the future, we'll see kind of what happens. We haven't done any international other than for us, USA is international, but nothing in Europe, Australia, anything like that. But that could be a big place we grow. And I think next year we're launching 12 products, which is a bit absurd. So it should be our busiest year ever with product launches. And typically in beauty, cosmetics, you'll see like 2 launches a year. So we're trying to build a new business model that's a little outside the norm of the industry.
No, absolutely. And David, if we wanted to get Bushbalm for ourselves, where do we go?
Yeah, so we do not the same store with Shopify Markets, but we have 2 separate. Someday I'll sort that out. But bushbalm.com or bushbalm.ca, and then probably best off if you can just go to Ulta. We've got one kind of everywhere in the US. And then if you do want to support someone local, we've got about 3,000 estheticians across Canada and the US that I guarantee if you go to our stockist on our site, you'll find one probably within 5 kilometers of you, for sure. Like very, very close.
Excellent. David Gaylord, Bushbalm Skincare, thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
The Unofficial Shopify Podcast is brought to you by Loop. Loop is a returns management platform that makes returns profitable and stress-free for you and your shoppers. Loop offers automated returns, exchanges, and store credit options to lower costs and increase revenue. Do you want to offer at-home pickup or boxless drop-offs? Need to lower return costs or increase repeat purchases? How about all of the above? That's what's possible with Loop. Loop delivers customized returns management solutions for Shopify merchants of all sizes, like Studs, Princess Polly, Code Epoxy, to turn returns into returning customers. Find out why thousands of Shopify merchants choose Loop to manage their returns at loopreturns.com. That's loopreturns.com.